Hi students, I have been working really hard to streamline this process. I'm trying to figure out a way to simplify putting together the timing and the spacing, the squashing and the stretching. I want you to learn the graphing editor. I want you to be able to incorporate all of these things, but I don't want it to take you like 2 weeks to learn it and understand it. So this is my attempt at simplifying this process. The first recommendation that I have, and I've included the link, is to watch this bouncing ball animation tutorial. Kind of goes through all of that timing, and we've talked about that in class. One of the images he shows is that all actions follow an arc, or generally circular path. Okay, so like if you're doing a walk sequence, you're going to kind of have your character bobbing up and down, okay, or running like this, or a pendulum motion, or a gavel. In the case of our bouncing ball, it's going to arc up and down like this, and then it will slowly roll away. The timing for each of these arcs is about 1 second. Now, the way that Blender is set up is they do 24 frames per second. Now, there is this concept of timing, okay? So if you have constant speed, then you're just going to have everything equally separated, and there isn't going to be any change in speed. It will be constant. However, if the frames are closer together, it actually slows it down. It seems like it would go faster, but it actually slows it down. And then the more distance there is between frames, the faster it will travel. Slow out means it's coming out of its initial point slowly and gets faster. And then slow in means it's going fast and then it slowly goes in. Slow in and slow out. It's going fast, it's slowly going in, it's slowly going out, it's going fast again. So this is how you can set up your timing. Now remember, we talked about 1 second being 24 frames per second. This artist, instead of going like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, they know in their mind, and I don't know why they have the 1 and the 2 mixed up here, but they know that they have in their mind that each one of these is going to be separated by 2 keyframes, okay? But I suppose that just made it simpler so they didn't have to count by 2s the whole way. But when they actually go in and animate it, they are going to leave 2 keyframes in between each of these. And this is how it's going to manage the fast, slow, fast, fast, slow, fast, fast, slow, fast, fast, slow, fast, slow. So we're also incorporating the squash and stretch. And one of the things that's really important with the squash and the stretch is that you maintain the volume of the object. So notice that even though he is stretching and squashing and stretching and squashing, he's not getting smaller or larger. His volume stays the same. So that's an important concept. Here's what that's going to look like with our circle. And maybe this isn't perfect. Maybe these need to be a little larger, but you want to try to make it so that your objects that you're using for the regular shape, the squash and the stretch basically appear to have the same volume. Let's take a look at how this is all going to look in Blender. We're going to start out with a new file. If you want to start naming it now, File, Save As. Just make sure that it is in the correct folder where you want it, and put your first and last name. .blend can stay there. First and last name, and you can call this Traveling Bouncing Ball with Squash and Stretch. And that should say .blend. I've had some people putting the number 1 at the end of it. I'm not sure if it's just changed. I don't know if it's saving a second file, but don't submit a file that has a 1 at the end of blend because it won't open. It has to say .blend at the end. Of course, I'm going to delete my cube, and I'm going to hit the number 1 because I want to go into front mode, and I will create my floor. So you can do Shift A to add a mesh plane and hit S and pull, click and pull and pull, and pull. You don't have to click, you just pull and then drop it. Left click when you want to drop it. And then I want to create, and I'm just going to name this over here on my outliner. I'm going to name that wall. Oh, no, that's my floor. I'm getting myself confused already. I hope I'm not confusing you. Sorry, that was my floor. Now I'm going to go ahead. I can either go add here or I can just go Shift A, mesh plane, and I'm going to hit N to open up my transform box, or I could have clicked and dragged that open. And I can see that my X axis is here. I want to rotate that around my X axis 90 degrees so that it is perpendicular. And then I will hit N to get rid of that transform box, S to scale, and I just keep on picking up my mouse and dragging it more and more, and then left click to drop it. And I will double click over here in my outliner and name that my wall. Okay, and I want to move my wall back in space. I will hit N again, and I know that if I'm moving it back away from me along the Y axis, I can go back about 6 metric units, and that should be in the background now. Trust me on this. Let's just go ahead and add the sphere really quick. Shift A, add your UV sphere, and there's the UV sphere. Okay, let's go to Object, Shade Smooth, perfect. And this sphere, I'm going to double click in my outliner and call it my ball and hit Enter. I can give my ball some color if I want to at this point, or I can wait until later. I think I'll go ahead and do it now. So go to your materials, it's like the beach ball down there at the bottom, and click New and type ball, hit Enter, and then go to base color. Pick the color that you want your ball to be. Of course, I want a red bouncing ball. Okay, and then when you're done with that, you can't see it, so go over into up here in the top right, go into your material preview, and now you can see your red ball. I can come over here and I can click on my floor in the outliner, and I'm still in the materials tab. I can add a new material, click here and call that floor, and I will pick a color for it. So I love these two colors against each other, so I'm going to pick that one for my floor, and then I'm going to click on my wall, and I'm going to use the same color that I used on my floor for my wall. So I can just click this little drop down box. It's got all of my materials saved here, and boom, there we go. So now just going to have to trust me that we have created a floor, a wall that's in the background, and a red ball here. Now the red ball is kind of falling through the floor, so let's click on the ball and select it, and let's move the location of the Z up 1 metric unit. Hit 1 over here in your transform box and Enter, and you'll notice that now it is perfectly sitting on the surface. Let's set up our camera view now. So I'm going to go ahead and use my hand and press and hold on it with my left mouse button, and I'm just going to lower it a little bit, scroll out a little bit, and I want to have enough room in this scene that I can see it bouncing along the red line on the floor, but I can also see it when it goes into the air. So now that I have that, I will hit the letter N as in Nancy to close my transform box, and I'm going to set up my camera by going Control-Alt-0. Okay, clearly my camera is not catching the whole scene, so click to select your camera on the outside of that rectangle. You'll notice in your outliner it is selected over here. That's another way to select, is to click on it over here in your outliner. Now that you have your camera selected, you can hit G for grab and move, click your middle mouse button, and just drag your mouse back, and you can capture more of the scene. That way, when you're done, left click to drop it. Also, when you hit G, when your camera is selected, you could just move your mouse back and forth and up and down and around, and you don't have to click that middle mouse button to do a little bit of panning if you'd like to. I'm gonna right click to release those changes that I just made. So that looks really good. I don't really want to see my light right now, so I'm going to select it and come over to the outliner, and I'm just going to hide it for a minute. But don't forget, later on, if you go into your render view, it's going to be dark because you've hidden your light. So you'll have to come back and light your light up again by clicking the eye icon, okay? So for now, I am only in material preview, so I don't need to worry about my light. Next, we are going to draw a picture of that bouncing curve that we're wanting. So let's try this new feature. And if you click on your ball right now and you're not clicking on your camera, you can scroll and pull in your view a little tighter here so that you can see a little better what's happening. So here's my annotation pencil, and let's remember, what was it that we were trying to accomplish? We're going for this. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, and a roll. Let's see if we can get that. Use your annotation tool down here, click on it, and let me just show you a couple of features of that. If you hit N and open up your transform, let's look at the tool. There it is. Okay, so under tool, the active tool is annotate. I'm going to start down here. There it is. Now it's showing up. And I'm going to bounce, 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 and then it's gonna roll. I'm going to click on this and it will give me a drop down, and I can click on that note and the color part, and I can change that. So I'm going to change that to black so I can see that really well. And then if I want to hide it at any point, this is how I can get to the eye and hide that. So if I don't want to see it, I'm just going to come back to the Annotate tool, click on that note, and hide it, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and keep it visible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new annotation, and this one is going to be for annotating the timing. I'm going to go with a white on this. Let me go ahead and just draw. We're going to have 1 second, right? 1s is 1 second between each of these bounces. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a 1. So this is just so you can keep track of what's happening in your animation. And then how many seconds do you want it to roll? Maybe 2 seconds? Let me circle my actual ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what I'm ending up with for timing. First, you're going to start off at the base, and that's going to be 1 keyframe. And I'm going to pull up this on a different screen. I'm going to have that open, and I'm going to use that as my guide. So I know that I want the keyframes closer together if it's going to be slow. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to draw in what was on that chart. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then, oh, well, that one should probably a little closer. You can hit Control Z. 11, and then 12 at the bottom. Okay, so you get the idea. And then a 13, 14, 15, well, maybe 15, and then like a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. This is a lot, right? 22, 23, and then back to 24 at the bottom. We have a 25, 26, 27, 28, and that's 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. I'm just gonna 34, 35, and then 36 is down here. So I'm not gonna write them all. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, and then we're gonna have 48, 49, 50, really close together as it rolls out. So that's kind of the basic diagram of our timing. Once you get that done, go ahead and start the next video.